Disclaimer before you watch the video, I have a mic by my mouth the whole time, but I didn't plug it in, so it looks like I'm talking through a mic, but it doesn't sound like it because I'm not and I'm an idiot. But anyway, I hope it sounds alright. Let's get on with the video. So, the latest episode of The Bad Batch dropped today, and I'm going to give my thoughts on it, and also the new mid-season trailer of The Bad Batch, which looks very, very good, and the new trailer of Shang-Chi, Legends of the Ten Rings. Now, I'm going to do that at the end, because obviously the majority of you that would have clicked on would be for The Bad Batch, and any of you that are Marvel fans too, you can stay at the end for the Shang-Chi trailer, reaction. So, without further ado, let's get into The Bad Batch new episode, my reaction. For me, it was the best episode yet. I said that last week, but I kind of excluded episode 1 because I felt like it was a cheat because of how long it was. But no, I prefer this episode to episode 1, including the advantage it had for being so long. I think this was fantastic, and that's largely because of how much action there was. We got right into it with the Bad Batch escaping Brecker and Crosshair. And I think that held up for most of the episode, other than some moments like what I think are Snoke clones in those tubes that Omega and Fennec Shand see, and obviously one of them falls on Fennec Shand, which is disgusting. Now, I think it's fantastic that they're linking stuff like this together, especially something so far apart as just the end of the prequels and the sequel trilogy. I absolutely love that. I love when stuff links together, whether it be in Star Wars or Marvel, and something so far apart in the timeline linking together is incredible. I absolutely loved it. Now, I could be wrong, but I think I saw something in one of those tubes that isn't just a regular Snoke attempt, meaning that they were doing plenty of experiments at the time, and I think it was an Ithorian, which is this species on the screen right now. I could be wrong, I could be very, very wrong, but at first glance of watching it, I haven't watched it back, I'm pretty sure there was an Ithorian in there, which I don't know why there is. It's just they're testing on different species, obviously, on which ones can make the best Force-sensitive clone, or which ones can make any, because they obviously haven't succeeded yet, and they aren't going to fully succeed until, well, ever, because Snoke wasn't a full-on success, Palpatine's Strandcast wasn't a full-on success, so they aren't going to succeed ever, but they're nowhere near any kind of success, because obviously Snoke was at least a little bit of a success. He was Force-sensitive, but he wasn't exactly what he was supposed to be, if you know what I'm trying to say. If you asked Palpatine before he obviously died and needed a new body, what would he want it to be? It wouldn't be what he got. So what I'm saying is, it worked, but it wasn't ideal. Now, this episode also did a crazy, crazy good job of establishing how good Fennec Shand actually is. We saw her beat up Wrecker easily, but it was easy to write that off as, well, he had a headache, so he got knocked out easily. But no, she's incredible. She went toe-to-toe with Cad Bane, who I think is the most powerful, well, not necessarily powerful, because I think that more relates to someone in the Force, but the most skilled and deadly bounty hunter in the galaxy at this point. She went toe-to-toe with him without even utilising her best ability, which I think is sniping. So she's looking to be someone of the closer combat ability of Cad Bane, combined with the sniping ability of Aurra Sing. That is crazy. I think in the Mandalorian Season 1, we were more told of how good she is rather than shown. Yes, she was really good at sniping in that episode in Season 1, but to be the most feared bounty hunter at that time, or one of the most feared, or one of the most deadly, didn't really portray that too well. In Season 2, she was seen as really, really good, but again, I feel like someone like Cad Bane was definitely better than her, but she seems to be really, really close, or maybe as an overall bounty hunter, if you include her sniping, better than Cad Bane. That's crazy. And considering the book of Boba Fett is coming up, and obviously Boba Fett is crazy, crazy skilled, and he probably is at that point the most deadly bounty hunter in the galaxy. But with him and Fennec working together, that is a duo that I would not want to mess with. I wouldn't want to mess with either of them as a solo, but as a duo, I don't think there's anyone in the galaxy other than probably Luke Skywalker at this point, and maybe Ahsoka, that could take on that pairing. So yeah, that's some trouble. Speaking of Cad Bane, that concept of his headpiece having a dent in it looks to be true, because he was wearing some kind of thin layered headpiece with a thick bit on the side of it, likely covering up or trying to heal the wound from Boba's blaster in the deleted scene that has likely happened already. Yes, I think that that one-on-one that they had has already happened, hence why Cad Bane is wearing that extra thick bit on top of the thin black headpiece he's wearing now. I don't know when Cad started wearing the thin black headpiece, but he was obviously wearing that when he fought Boba, hence why in the concept art it had a dent, and hence why he was able to survive for one. But yeah, I think we're going to see that duel in a flashback potentially when Boba comes into this series, if he does, or even in a live action form if we see Cad Bane in the Book of Boba Fett, which I cannot wait for. But yeah, I definitely think the deleted scene duel has already happened, but you know, there's no confirmation of it. It's just highly likely given what Cad Bane has on his head for some reason. Now Boba, or should I say Alpha, is obviously a direct clone of Jango Fett, has the exact same DNA, and speaking of people with the exact same DNA as Jango Fett, I'll introduce you to Omega's importance in the galaxy. She's not force sensitive, she's not a combination of all the Bad Batch's abilities, she has the direct DNA of Jango Fett. That is why she is important, and I think this makes much more sense, as, you know, if the Kaminoans could somehow clone force sensitives already, then they are way too OP, and why did Stormtroopers ever get carried out? Well, because they couldn't clone force sensitives yet, especially in mass production. That would be crazy powerful, and it just, again, it would be a huge plot hole. Wouldn't make any sense as to why we didn't see any of it in the original or sequels. And even if the Bad Batch's abilities were all in one person being Omega, and then they try to clone or mass produce that again would not make sense, because that would be crazy OP, and we don't see anything that resembles any kind of ability of that level in any Imperial Stormtrooper or anything in the future. Now obviously we could just say, oh, they failed to get Omega back, and that's why they were never able to mass produce or even produce any single amount more of those type of clones. But just the fact that they had that ability to do it at one point and then they lost that clone doesn't really make sense, because eventually, with trial and error based off what they already know and can remember from making Omega, they would come up with the idea. So I'm glad that that is not the case, and she is literally just an identical clone to Jango Fett, like a Captain Rex, for example, or near enough. Captain Rex obviously isn't exactly identical, but he's a Phase 1 clone, so he's very close to it. So what this means is there'll be more clones like Captain Rex, being Phase 1, being extremely close to the exact DNA of Jango Fett, just with the accelerated aging if they choose to do so. That's why Captain Rex isn't an exact copy, because he has the advanced aging, is what I was trying to say. But yeah, it means that they can create the clone army again, basically, from the start if they get Omega back, or Boba, because they have the exact DNA of Jango Fett, which has obviously filled it out the longer that they have been making clones. So they can just do everything they've done again, basically, if they get Omega back. Continuing with Omega, I think she was fantastic this episode. She really proven that she can do stuff by herself too. She managed to escape, yes, with help of Fennec, and yes, she was saved when her pod was crashing down, but she managed to get out there mostly by herself, and I think every episode she's just doing more and more by herself, which is fantastic, and you love to see it. So yeah, that's about it for this reaction. Surprisingly, in this episode of The Bad Batch, I really enjoyed the lack of The Bad Batch, and I hope that that carries on. Not that I don't love The Bad Batch, but I also, as well as loving The Bad Batch, I love bounty hunters, and I can't wait to see more of them in the rest of this series. However, obviously I do want to see a lot of The Bad Batch. Having a series based on something and then we see a lot of something else just gives me big Clone Wars vibes. Like, for example, we saw a lot of the bounty hunters in the Clone Wars, when the Clone Wars is obviously the war between the Republic and the Separatists. We got plenty of episodes that weren't exactly just clones versus droids, for example. Now, in terms of the Bad Batch mid-season trailer, we got a lot of Crosshair in it, so I think it's definitely hinting towards the Bad Batch going back to Kamino. Even though Hunter promised they're not going back to Kamino, I think he's going to have to break that promise once to go and save Crosshair. yeah, I do think they're going to go back and save Crosshair on Kamino. Or maybe not Kamino and Hunter sticks to his promise and they manage to capture Crosshair somewhere else. But I definitely think they're going to attempt to save Crosshair because there was a lot of him in the trailer. There was also a lot of what I think is Coruscant in the trailer, meaning that it's either very important or very soon. So I think we're going to see Coruscant next episode. And I can't wait to see what they're actually doing there. That's very interesting. We've not really seen any Coruscant after, like, Revenge of the Sith. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing it because it's my favourite planet in Star Wars, and it's quite annoying that we've not really seen any of it after the prequels. I'd love to see where it is and what it's doing at the time of the original trilogy, but I'm going to have to settle for what it's doing about a month after Order 66 probably. In terms of some more specific predictions, we're going to see more bounty hunters definitely, and I'm going to stick with my prediction about Beckett, Maul and Aura Singh, which I will play after I've talked about the Shang-Chi trailer, and then the video will end after that. But yeah, in terms of the Shang-Chi trailer, spoilers obviously, I'm not going to talk about it too much, but wow, Abomination is back. What? He's just been like completely ignored since the Hulk movie. I'm pretty sure he was supposed to be on the raft. Somehow he's got out of there, and now he's fighting a mystic arts user in a cage fight. Like, this movie looks incredible. It really doesn't seem like any other Marvel movie, which I'm excited for because I like different but the same, if you know what I mean. So it's different in terms of the style of the movie, but it's the same because we've got Marvel in it with a mystic arts user, with Abomination, and obviously Shang-Chi is joining the MCU. But I mean, like, we've got stuff from the old MCU that we're used to, being Abomination and the mystic arts user, mixed with like Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, and what's looking like a new, very unique Marvel movie, which I love to see because I think something like Captain America the Winter Soldier is very unique compared to most movies in the MCU, and I love that one. So I'm really looking forward to this, and I think I'm really going to love it. But that is going to be all for this video. Thank you so much for 6,800 subscribers. Please, can we get to 7k by the next Bad Batch episode? That would be crazy good. And yeah, leave a like, let me know what you thought about this episode of the Bad Batch, the mid-season trailer and the Shang-Chi trailer if you're a fan of Marvel, or if you've seen it and you're not a fan of Marvel, just if you've seen it, let me know what you think. And also let me know what you thought of this particular video from myself. And yeah, I'm going to play my theory about Beckett, Aura Singh and Maul. Let me know what you think about that as well. And yeah, in a bit. If this happens, remember that I said this. So like, there was time jump between episode 6 and 7, maybe a couple of days or like a week, right? So the chances are there's more people that know about Omega. Not maybe too many, but there's more people that know about her being wanted by the Kaminoans now, yeah?
Yeah.
So maybe one person only in Crimson Dawn. Now, this is why I don't think this will happen, because it's going somewhere. One person finds out about this, and then Maul then finds out about it, and he sends Beckett to like go and get Omega. And what we know about Beckett is that he's the one that killed Aura Singh. Aura Singh is another bounty hunter who could potentially go and be going after Omega. And we see the story of Beckett killing Aura Singh on the way to get Omega.